Now, in today's video, what I want to discuss is why cost caps ultimately do more harm than good at scale. Now, first of all, why should you listen to me? Who am I? And ultimately, why do I have the experience backing? So, my name is Chris Hernandez. I'm the founder of ScaleVelocity.io. I've been in e-commerce for around 5 years in my career thus far. I run a consulting firm, and in that, we have a portfolio under management that ranges from anywhere north of 800K to a million plus a month in ad spend across my portfolio. Now, with this amount of ad spend, I see trends across the board. I notice industries, pattern recognition across multiple industries, and ultimately, my main process is mapping out the protocol so that if you want to exit your business, you can. Now, in order to do that, we need to understand the health of our business. How can we measure how successful our business is? Well, ultimately, it's tied into net profit. Net profit is always a North Star after expenses, so on and so forth. But from an investor perspective, they value EBITDA, right? EBITDA is probably the North Star that measures the health of the business prior to depreciation, taxes, amortization, so on and so forth. So I say this to say, if we understand holistically the foundation of the reason why we start this business is we want to exit. We don't know the timeline of the exit, but we know we want to exit before we retire. So we have around 20, 30 years of runway, depending on if everything goes as planned, right? We don't control this. Now, the beauty behind why cost caps don't work and the beauty behind why there's a misconception in the space is two thoughts, right? Cost caps work for businesses in two different categories, right? Cost caps work for businesses where they're stuck on inventory, so they have limited volume, and they just want to maximize as much profit as they can with this limited inventory. So cost caps make sense because A, you're restricted on volume, and B, you want to hit a specific CPA target. And let's say you're not advertising across Google, you're just focusing on Meta. Cost caps make sense in this scenario. Vice versa. Let me do an opposite approach. Let's say we had a new inflow of inventory. We're launching a new product. It's a new collection. And ultimately, when we push out this ad spend, we get product market fit. It's been proven to work. So then we really push to scale on ads. This is where cost caps would actually hurt us versus if we just focus on volume. Maximize as much volume of purchases we can get in a single day based off our ad spend versus cost caps restricting volume. What are the long-term effects? And I want to break this down. So in order to scale right, we need to measure out these three metrics. We have our CPA, which is the cost per action or the cost per customer, if you want to rephrase it like that. But CPA is cost per action. Now we have AOV, which is the average order value. What is the total value that customer is going to buy on that first order purchase? The next valuable metric we have tied to that is ultimately LTV. Now, LTV is pretty much the lifetime value of a customer and ultimately the frequency they buy back from your business within a 12-year time frame. Now, the misconception or the limitations of cost caps on Meta and Google are pretty much strict cost caps can prevent your ads from competing effectively, leading to missed opportunities to engage with potential customers, right? So if you're restricted on volume and you're restricted on demographic, you're not doing a lot of tests and you're limited on specific budgets, what happens with cost caps is ultimately you're valuing one platform over the other, right? You're valuing Facebook data. If you are running Google ads, you're valuing Facebook data over Google ads. Where once we introduce more channels into the mix, we need to measure the health of our business on incremental lift. We can't overvalue one platform over the other because ultimately those platforms are incentivized to get you to spend more money. So Meta is going to ultimately want to show you, and they're going to ultimately want to influx data to get you to spend more ad dollars. Well, with cost caps, that puts us in a position where we're overvaluing Meta over other platforms. So at scale, we need volume. We need purchases. We need a lot of purchases. Now, granted, to the extent of efficiency of where that is profitable, well, we know at scale, our KPIs are going to actually lower. The higher ad spend, the lower your ROAS target should be, the lower your MER target should be. Or they ultimately at scale, because what happens is if we're getting inflow of new customers, and we know a product realistically has an LTV that's really solid, right? It gets customers to buy back within the business 2 times out of a 6-month period. If I just scale and I focus on volume, the volume is going to mitigate risk. It's going to outweigh luck because now you have LTV from these newly acquired customers or these newly acquired transactions. Now, to the extent where it's like 30% returning, that really depends on product. But I say to say, if we have an influx of volume and we go from $1,000 a day to $5,000 a day in ad spend, we've scaled that up. And instead of just relying on cost caps to mitigate risk, we focus on volume. We focus on optimizing the AOV. We focus on raising the AOV instead of lowering the CPA. Well, we're diversified across multiple channels, which we hedge our risk as a byproduct. With this, we're seeing a lift in total incremental lift because the more we spend on Meta, as a byproduct, we're going to see a lift in search volume, a lift in direct Google search, as I should say, because people who don't convert on Meta naturally go and search your brand up on Google. So it's like we're capturing Meta's our top of funnel growth engine, and then Google's middle funnel, bottom of the funnel retargeting. So at scale, for instances, we're able to spend like a 10K ad spend in a given week on Meta. We're seeing a return of like a 2.5x. And then as a byproduct, we see a lift in Google performance go from a 4.25x return. Simply put, because it does a great job of retargeting users because we diversified our risk. Rather, in the same scenario, let's say I just focus on Meta and I just focus on cost caps. Well, then what happens is the volume restrictions ultimately allows you to overvalue Meta, and you're really just stuck to the Meta platform. You're only incentivizing users to spend at a certain threshold. So you're limiting your reach, you're limiting your demographic, and you're not expanding your top of funnel base. Whereas if I look at holistic growth in my portfolio, brands that go from $100 a day to $1,000 a day to $5K a day, they have that influx of customer demographics across different scenarios, different ages, different varieties, right? We have men, we have women, we have millennials, Gen Z, whatever. We're trying to target each pocket of audience. So for a brand to holistically scale, it's literally just horizontal expansion and vertical expansion. It's maximizing the offers you currently have from your winning SKUs, innovating product line, pushing and maximizing for profit volume. We want a high number of conversions from different users instead of limiting the number of conversions for maximize efficiency, which is what cost cap does. We want to focus on volume. We want to focus on raising our AOV because that does more for our business than trying to lower our CPA, because lowering our CPA takes time. You need the right adverts, the right copy, the right offer, so on and so forth. It's far easier to scale with raising prices while incentivizing customers to, of course, raise the AOV. Now, with that being said, if I were to scale in 2024, I need product market fit, I need a collection of product SKUs, I need horizontal expansion, and I need to focus on profit volume. The number of transactions needs to increase, and we need to acquire or try to acquire as close to first order profit as possible. That's how we scale. Now, the cons to this approach is you might see a dip in LTV, but with the first order profit, you're giving users on the front end more reasons to buy because they're trying out more SKUs. So as a byproduct, you might see a delay in data, but if your bundles at a higher AOV leads to higher LTV as well, that's worth a test. It's always worth a test where we can raise our prices and also as a byproduct lower our prices, and with both ends, lower prices equals typically higher LTV. Higher prices typically requires lower LTV, but the healthy balance of both is how you really diversify and hedge your risk in this game. So if you're looking for the protocol to get set up for an exit, you want to skip the phase of you getting burned by ad agencies, you can check out scalevelocity.io, where you can read my free 30-page protocol breaking this all down to a T. And if you want to skip the phase of paying multiple retainers, 10, 15, 20K a month retainers, and you're just outsourcing to agencies who don't know what they're doing, you can also check out our testimonials, our case studies at scalevelocity.io. And if you feel like you're qualified, you can book in a call and speak directly with me. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.